Huge ratings. And Connections 2 followed that, and now there's Connections 3. And James Burke, who's the fellow behind all these, is here with us now.
Hello.
Good morning. Now, the basic premise is that you started out with many moons ago.
Yeah, many moons.
Is that everything is connected. There's an interconnectedness and a relatedness.
Somehow. Yeah. If you go long enough, there's a link between you and me. More than this.
That's the 6 degrees of separation.
Well, yes.
Maybe we both know Kevin Bacon or something.
Right. No, I mean, all these programs are really journeys on this kind of great web. If you imagine that everything that ever happened is rather like a kind of sphere made up of spiders' webs, millions and millions and millions of spiders' webs, all interlinking, all interconnecting, then these programs are journeys through that web. And the outside, if you like, is the modern world, and the center is the ancient past. And all the programs begin in the modern world, travel through the past, come back out, but somewhere else. And sometimes they cross the modern world, and sometimes they go in and end in the past. It's better than real work.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really fun. I mean, I know you love the research, just getting in the libraries and going and saying, oh, I didn't know this obscure person, you know, was related to this.
That's right. That happens all the time. The trouble is sometimes you're in the library and you spend days and days preparing a program, and you get to a link and it drops dead on you. I mean...
There's no connection.
There's no connection, and I did that once. Well, there is always a connection if you read widely enough. But I got to a point where some guy asks the botanical authorities in England in the 19th century, hey, listen, I've discovered a way to melt rubber and put it between cotton and invent a thing which the future will know as the Macintosh, the raincoat, and why don't we grow rubber seedlings? And they say, get lost. And it's such a fantastic idea. So I read and ran, all I kept reading were different letters to him saying, we said get lost, you know. And I'd got myself an entire program, almost, and I thought, oh, what am I going to do? And then in one footnote, I discovered why they said get lost. It was because they were more interested in getting quinine back and growing that to stop people getting malaria out in the Far East. And that's what they said. But without that, it was a dead duck.
Now we should give a sample of this. There's a little scene from Connections 3, just to give you a sample of how the logic of James Burke moves through history.
Electronic agents on the internet and wartime guns use feedback techniques discovered in the first place by Claude Bernard, whose vivisection experiments kick off all those animal rights movements called humane societies, that really start out as lifeboat crews, rescuing people from all the shipwrecks happening because of all the extra ships out there who are using Maury's data on wind and currents, transmitted by the amazing new telegraph invented by Sam Morse, who's also a painter, whose hero is Washington Allston, who spends time in Italy with Coleridge, who is, as I said, here in Malta.
So why go back to this one? The first one was 79. People remember Connections 1. The next one was 94.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Right. I did a lot of things in between.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Well, because one of the things, yes, I started with the BBC back in the dawn of time, and what the BBC likes to do is to make a program, throw it away. You know, you make one, and, well, you want to do that again. And so I did many, many other things. And then when I left the BBC about 9 years ago, the Learning Channel, on which these programs are shown, was coming the other way and said, would you like to work with us? And I said, yes. And they said, well, we'd like you to do more of those things you used to do in the ancient past. And so I picked it up again. And it seemed to work well enough for them to offer me to do it as Connections 3.
But TV's changed, you know, a bit. You say that you can pick up the pace. I guess whether it's music videos or whatever it is, we seem to be able to take in more quickly.
Well, in a funny way, I think, without realizing it, I did something rather in the future back in 70, whatever it was, because I think the world is a much more connected place now. People think in those terms much more than they used
because of technology, too.
Right. But I mean, when I did Connections 1, it got panned in England. The scholars said, this is charlatanism rampant. And now they don't, because everybody with internets and such matters is thinking in this connected way.
Interesting. But I remember reading, you know, those, you should, because I know there was, you know, stuff that accompanied the earlier series. But Daniel Burstyn's book about, you know, adventures of exploring, those sort of little facts and things, are there factoids that you come across in people and you think, well, why don't we know about this?
Benjamin Franklin had an affair with the wife of an anatomist whose brother's wife wrote all Haydn's libretto, and he never told anybody.
So when all else fails, you can be the gossip columnist.
I can win all trivia games.
The Sun or something like that. I bet you can.
Yes.
I want you on my team. If I'm ever called to ever be on a program like that,
that's a deal.
I'm calling you up and I'll pay your way over.
All right.
Well, it was great. It was wonderful
Thanks
to see.
very much.
So Connections 3 will be showing soon. James Burke, thank you very much. We'll be back.